happens is
we are here at the booth of Sepura at Critical Communications World 2016 in Amsterdam. We're talking to Kasper Barfoed, Group VP Sales of Sepura and Teltronic, actually, of course. And about Sepura Teltronic, it was 1 year ago since it was announced that Teltronic would be part of the Sepura Group. So Kasper, can you tell us what has happened in that year?
Well, it's been a very interesting journey. I think the transaction was immediately understood and welcomed by the market. We were getting together a very competent, a very strong devices, TETRA devices company and DMR devices company and DMR systems as well. And we were joining that up with a company renowned for the quality of its TETRA infrastructure. And in terms of geographies, Teltronic were very strong, or are very strong in Latin America, North America as well, where they've made very good headway with TETRA in North America, most recently with the announcement of the New York City Transit contract, whereas Sepura has a stronger footprint in the rest of the world. So I think the logic of the transaction was understood by the markets, and I think it was welcomed by the markets. And what we can see now is that we are really seriously starting to leverage the synergies of the transaction in terms of the market. As you can imagine, initially a lot of the work is focused on internally aligning the businesses. And now what we are really starting to do now is aligning how we present ourselves to the markets as a full solution supplier, but still making sure that we look after the legacy business of the two companies whilst repositioning ourselves at the same time. So it's very interesting times. It's been a good journey. It's been an interesting journey. I think we're learning a lot from each other. So it's two very good and very competent companies. So I think we're on a very good track. Lots of good challenges, but it's moving ahead.
And they're two eager companies, right? People within the company. I know some people from Teltronic. I know people from Sepura. All of those people are eager to make it a success, is it?
Well, I think we have very. There's mentalities are very aligned. We're both used to fighting for the contracts, for fighting for the wins, fighting for the customers. We've always, both companies, been quite product oriented, engineering oriented, so we have been bringing a lot of solutions to the markets, and I think there's a high degree of customer orientation on both sides of the business, on both the Teltronic and Sepura side. So yeah, to your point, Redjan, it's a lot of the same mentality. Of course, British people and Spanish people are different, and they speak different languages, and there are some mentalities, but it's also a question of learning from each other. So I think it's a good experience.
Yeah, and with every merger and acquisitions, you always have some challenges to overcome. Everywhere, every single company, so that's quite normal business, right? So about the new products, because I've seen a lot of press releases coming out over the last 2 days. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, we launched the SC20, which is our new handheld radio, already last year at last year's CCW, but with an announcement that the product was going to be available in the beginning of this year, which we made it available. First deliveries have already started. But we are focusing on that product as well. It has a dual bearer capability, so we can make it a combined TETRA LTE device if that's what's required. Also, it's a product that's very much focused around connectivity, so it's still a core TETRA handheld radio, where we've done enhancements and improvements to the core values or the core requirements to a handheld radio for critical communications. So improved RF, improved quality of voice, and also loudspeaker quality. So I think we sort of the basic virtues are there, but then we're adding into that Wi-Fi connectivity, Bluetooth connectivity. So actually, what you can use this as well as your critical voice or critical communications voice device for TETRA. You can use it as a hub to connect to other products, to other networks. It's been very well received, and we've been able to, let's say, elaborate on some of the use cases and share that with customers during the last couple of days here at CCW, and I think it's been well received. On top of that, on the system side, we are showing the MBS Lite, which is our single-site base station solution, which is an outdoor solution as well. It's been very well received, lots of interest. There are some specific markets that we're targeting this at, but we've received very broad interests. And then, of course, we're showcasing our LTE overlay that sits with the Teltronic Nebula TETRA infrastructure offering. We are showcasing here a couple of pilots that we're running, real deployments. Bilbao Metro is one, and a lot of interest for that as well. Clearly, a lot of people want to talk about LTE.
Yeah, well, that's the part of the discussion here at the event. LTE is coming, but it isn't coming as fast as we previously thought 2 years back, is it?
Well, it depends on what you thought 2 years
back. About voice, right? Voice, critical voice.
Yeah, I mean, critical voice is probably a couple of years out. I think still the narrowband technologies will be required for that purpose for many years to come. Now, clearly, especially within public safety, there is a lot of demand for situational awareness, using streaming video over broadband to get situational awareness into control room. The control rooms of incidents is a demand, and there clearly LTE has a relevance in the short term, and there will be users out there wanting to do that. I don't see LTE overlays to large networks. I think it's going to be in hubs, so bigger cities or areas where you will need that kind of functionality. And I think there is one of the things that the whole LTE debate is doing, which I'm personally welcoming a lot, is that it's bringing a lot more discussion around applications, even on the existing network. So it's stimulating a discussion which I think is very healthy, where the users are starting to scrutinize a little bit more. How can they use their networks more efficiently? How can they get more operational efficiencies out of the existing networks? Or how can they just get more out of the networks, more functionality? How can they give the users more, the subscribers more? So I think actually LTE is stimulating that discussion. That doesn't necessarily mean that all of those needs can be needs to be covered by LTE, because actually a lot can be covered by the existing technologies, but LTE will be needed as an add-on for the broadband applications.
Yeah, and it starts with a network and a radio, but that's not it. You know, what you just said. The network is there, then it starts to fine-tune the network, get applications on the network, and much is more possible. You see more and more smaller companies coming with certain applications, so everything will be more and more enhanced, is it?
Yeah, I mean, this has always been the sort of the ecosystem of this business, with lots of small innovative companies offering special solutions to cater for individual customers' needs. And some of that will filter through to broader applications that will then be picked up by some of the larger players and will be, let's say, commercialized on a larger scale and become more available. So I think it's part of the normal ecosystem that you have. But as I said before, I think the LTE part has stimulated actually a needed discussion around what else can we do with our existing networks in terms of data and data capabilities.
That's an interesting observation. Thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated. And I look forward to talking to you next time in Hong Kong next year at CCW 2017.
Thanks. Looking forward to that too, Gert-Jan.